My name is Rembert, and I'm 26 years old.
And what is your story? How are you working to solve the problems of today?
Well, it sort of all began with what's called the Wilmington Airport. I'm from a small town in southwest Ohio called Wilmington, Ohio. It's in Clinton County, which is a sort of rural, historically agricultural community. And but one of our main hubs for generations has been this airport called the Wilmington Airport. For the last 20, almost 30 years, the airport was a major logistical hub. So it was first owned by a company called Airborne Express, which used it as a hub for their overnight shipping operations. And then in 2003, Airborne Express was taken over by DHL, the International Shipping Company. And that really brought a lot of excitement to our community, bringing an international company in. They immediately began hiring, created a number of new jobs. And for a while, it looked like things were going to be great, but by 2008, the economy internationally was beginning to shift, and in spring of 2008, got this sort of unthinkable announcement, which is that DHL is going to be shutting down its U.S. operations and closing the Wilmington Airport, which has since resulted in the loss of about 8,500 jobs in our community. So it's a pretty devastating. I mean, it's one of the largest single sort of, single location-specific economic crises in the country since the recession started. So it's been a big story, not just locally, but nationwide. And when the announcement from DHL came out that they would be leaving, I was actually living in Philadelphia, school, to go to college, and then Rembert College. And ended up moving into the city. As I began to sort of think about what the impact would be, I realized that the community would never be the same. And at about the same time, I'd received an invitation to join the Peace Corps. So I'm thinking I'm going to be leaving for about 2.5 years, and by the time I come back, my hometown's going to be gone. It's going to be completely different. It may not even exist anymore. I didn't know if my parents would still be there. I mean, there were just so many question marks at that point, thinking about the impact that this economic crisis would have. So since I had some time before when I received my invitation to go to the Peace Corps when I was supposed to leave, I decided that I would use that time to come back and sort of see my parents, see my family, and sort of say goodbye to my hometown. Yeah. Realizing that whatever the place was when I came back wouldn't be the same place I grew up in. And so for the first time in 6 years, I came back to live in Wilmington. And about a month after I was home, I got another surprise. One of my best friends from high school, who had also left after we graduated, but at this time was in the Peace Corps in Bolivia. His name is Taylor. Taylor received sort of unexpected word that he was going to be evacuated from his post in Bolivia because of political tension. And so he ended up back at home. And so all of a sudden, the two of us were back at home, having never expected to be living in Wilmington again. We were in the midst of this economic crisis, and we were both thinking about going off to do international economic development. And as we were sort of home, we rediscovered a lot of things about our community that we kind of taken for granted growing up, and realized what a special place it is, what an important place it is to us. We decided to change our plans and stay in Wilmington and try to see how we can serve our community and promote economic development in our hometown.
And out of that came Energize Clinton County.
So we began by writing 2 letters to the editor, and in one of them we said we need to energize Clinton County, and that became the name of the organization. Yeah. So our approach to economic development is really focused on trying to get as much value out of every dollar or every resource that flows to our community. We began to think about, well, if we have this massive layoff, a lot of people are out of work, we have less money coming into the community, then we need to be utilizing the money that is here as much as possible. We need to get as much value as possible out of it. So that's manifested itself in a number of different ways. We began really looking at how we could better utilize our resources by becoming more energy efficient or producing energy ourselves within our own community. And so we began by working with the community to develop kind of a vision for green development and how businesses and consumers and government can all be a part of creating more wealth in our community by being smarter about the way we use energy. And that vision was institutionalized in what's called the Wilmington Green Enterprise Zone, which is an actual piece of legislation unanimously adopted by the city of Wilmington in July of 2009. And that kind of set in motion a lot of different initiatives that have focused both on energy efficiency and on renewable energy. So one thing that it did is it gave us sort of a launching pad to begin applying for some grants, and we were able to work with the city and the county to get about $1 million in stimulus funding to fund 3 renewable energy projects in our community. And that's been fantastic, but really we focused probably more so on energy efficiency because I think that's really the low-hanging fruit. That's what makes sense, and that's what everybody can do right now. So, of course, most businesses or homeowners have never really thought about it before. They've never done an energy audit before. So we've really focused in sort of the short term on getting energy audits. And we're actually working on a program now. We'll be providing a free energy assessment to every business. So we really project community scale. And we're so excited about this. We're going to be able to provide energy audits to so many, to literally every business in our community.
Yeah, it sounds like it was just kind of a confluence of events and a great idea, and you got it done. So good work with that. Yeah.
We've also been thinking about utilized resources, how we make them have money that is in our community. We've done other things like we helped build a really awesome buy local campaign. We started out with about 10 businesses and some posters and things like that. But we've now grown it into a network of about 190 businesses and over 2,000 consumers. And it's really a platform for collaboration between businesses, especially businesses that never were really working together or communicating in the past, now have a network that they can tap into to try out new ideas or to work together and things like that. And it's also created a channel to help local businesses which are really strapped for marketing money or communication capacity to have a direct line of communication with a sort of huge network of consumers in our community. So we've seen it's been a really amazing program, just in the way it's helped people to reconceive of the importance of local businesses in our community. It's spurred entrepreneurship because it's given confidence to people who are thinking about starting a business that they would have a network of support in place to help them in their early stages. So that's been a really awesome project. Most people would say, well, what's the connection between, green development and a buy local campaign? But again, for us, notice on our website that we don't really talk a lot about the environment, although the environment is very important to us. I think every community has to think about how these things relate to their own set of community values. For our community, it was really about how are we going to utilize resources, how do we become more sufficient as a community, self-sufficient, things like that. And so in that case, when you start thinking about how money's coming in and where money's leaking out, there becomes you see a very sort of powerful synergy between buying local and energy efficiency or renewable energy like that. So,
this coalition that we're working on is a lot about working across traditional boundaries, and Search for Common Ground is about that. How have you worked across traditional boundaries to get things done, especially with Energize Clinton County?
Working across traditional boundaries, you said?
Yeah, sorry.
Okay. Well, I think in our community, there's sort of a tradition. There was a traditional boundary between generations. And I think one of the reasons people like myself and my partner Taylor left Wilmington after we graduated from high school was because the community didn't necessarily provide a lot of opportunity for young people to be involved in community development, ownership stake in the community. So when we started working, that was new, that there would be young people who were sort of demanding a place or demanding an ownership stake in the community. And that was not necessarily embraced initially. And we had to work very hard to kind of gain credibility and sort of make the connections that we needed with the sort of current power brokers to be taken legitimately and to get the resources we needed to get things done. And that took time, but I think that's one area where we've been very successful. And what's helped us is that, after we came back and we kind of demonstrated the opportunity for young people to really to have a big role in reshaping our community's future, a number of our friends who had left after high school began coming back. So now we have a generation that's returned and is involved in the community in a lot of different and interesting ways. Like, of course, we run a community development organization. We have a friend that runs a youth development organization. We have a friend that helps run an organic lavender farm. We have a friend who's a staff writer on the local newspaper. So, we have friends working a lot of different ways. And so it's really transformed the way our community, I think, looks at young people and the role of shaping the community and the ownership of the state to give young people an order to a hiding place in the future.
Cool.
I think pretty apolitical. I mean, we definitely don't subscribe to a particular political agenda, but I think the things that we do are often associated or sort of stereotyped as being part of a political agenda. And our community is traditionally very conservative politically. We're dominated by the Republican Party in our community, or it's this sort of we have far more Republicans than any other party in our community. So that was something that I think we had to be very conscious of early on, was the fact that we were pushing things that looked like a particular political agenda, which wasn't necessarily the political agenda of most of the people in our community. And so that's where framing the issues really for the common ground, seeing why community development is important, not from a political standpoint, but from a community standpoint, has been powerful. Everything that we talk about is local. We rarely talk about anything in terms of national significance, because what matters to people here is how something impacts their home, their business, their community. And I think we're very proud of the fact that we've been able to really bring people who might be politically sort of resistant to what we're doing into our efforts and really get them to buy in and see the value and be a part of pushing them. And I think that's just a matter of, really it demonstrates the fact that they're good ideas, that they work anywhere, irregardless of political standpoint. But I think in order to make that happen, it requires a certain consciousness of how you present things, how you get people to buy in, the way you frame these issues. And the more rooted they are in a particular community, I think the better. Like, the more likely they are to be successful.